Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is Veteran Mountain Man, and I hope you're having a great day today. And our topic for today is going to be this idea of regressive versus progressive taxation. Now, for those of you who have been keeping the score and actually understand political philosophy, this is going to be a refresher course. Go ahead and upvote the video if you want to upvote it and move on. For those of you who are relatively new to the political scene, are younger, or maybe just not as well versed in political philosophy, please listen through to the end, because this is going to be some very important information for you to go armed with and go out and learn more about the world. So, let's take this idea first and foremost. Taxation is the idea that the government mandates that citizens pay money to fund the government. And according to political philosophy, there are two types of taxation. There is progressive taxation and regressive taxation. Now, these titles are misleading. And here's why. First and foremost, progressive taxation states the more money that you have, the more the tax affects you. Hang on. Hear that out. Think about it. The more money you have, the more the tax affects you. So that means if you make $1 million a year, you will pay a larger percentage of that $1 million in taxation than you would if you made $50,000 a year. So not only do you pay a larger dollar amount, but you pay a larger percentage in taxation. Now, what they call regressive taxation is often called flat taxation. And that is, there's no graduated percentages. There's no steps on the pyramid. It is, everybody is taxed at the same rate. Now, if you look at the U.S. Constitution and look at it prior to the passing of the 19th Amendment, the only way the federal government could enumerate taxation was based off the census. The census was there for three reasons: to determine the Electoral College, to determine the representation of the House of Representatives, and to enumerate taxation. It is stated in the Constitution. That is what it is. Now, in the late 1800s, during the women's temperance movement, which was the movement to prohibit the sale of alcohol, the federal government made a large amount of taxation from what was known as sin taxing. S-I-N, not S-E-N, S-I-N. And that is, they excise taxed the production of alcohol and used that excise tax to fund the federal government. That way, the taxation was apportioned based off population. Every state had the same taxation. If you bought a bottle of whiskey in Tennessee or you bought a bottle of whiskey in New York City, that bottle of whiskey had the same amount of tax applied to the federal government because it was applied per bottle. And it was a very small tax. And this worked really well. The problem is the temperance movement determined that they could not get the prohibition of alcohol nationwide unless they changed the tax structure nationwide. And so they started pushing for the 19th Amendment. Now, it wasn't originally an amendment, but they knew it would eventually have to be an amendment. They started pushing for an alteration of taxation. Well, then we had World War I hit, and the United States spent into debt. And so, because of that, the U.S. government couldn't make enough money off the excising tax and off the flat taxation that it had been using in the sin taxes. And so the 19th Amendment was passed because we needed an income tax that could be apportioned based off the income that an individual made in order to pay the debt for World War I. And many people state that even when that happened, we had the huge boom of the 1920s. Well, the boom of the 1920s had nothing to do with the 19th Amendment. And actually, the boom of the 1920s would have been even bigger if it hadn't been for the 19th Amendment, and quite possibly could have paid off the debt faster. However, the big boom of the 1920s became because of public stock trading, the availability to purchase stock, the ample supply of citizen goods because of the up-ramping of production facilities because of the supplying of World War I, and the fact that the country was no longer at war and celebrated. People weren't having to save and pinch and scrounge. People had excess capital again. Men weren't off at war, and so the demand for consumer goods pushed. And this pushed innovation, and it pushed industry, and it pushed business. And we had this huge climb through the 1920s, and then we had the stock market crash because things were overvaluated. And we had the bust of the 1930s. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is the fact that the progressive taxation was specifically to try to enforce prohibition. That was why the progressive taxation was pushed to begin with. And as a nation, we perhaps should look at the idea that progressive taxation is immoral. Because what it basically states is that people who make more money, by default, should pay for more government. That's right. People who make less money, who are more numerous, who can vote for more government, should pay less in taxes and should fund less of the government that they're wanting to vote for, have less skin in the game. And the rich people should pay more and fund their ideas. This is the exact opposite of investiture. This is the exact opposite of enfranchisement. This is actually disenfranchising. Well, I want to thank you all again for joining me on this lovely day. I hope that this discussion on taxation enlightened you. If you're following me on YouTube, please like and subscribe if you liked what I gave you today. If you're following me on VidMe, please upvote and follow. Feel free to leave some comments down below if you want to discuss this in further depth or want to make some recommendations for a new video in the future. I will listen to them. If you want to see some of my exclusive paid content, come on over to Patreon. The link's down below. And you can get access to all of my paid content as well. It's just $1 a month. That's not even a cup of coffee anymore. If you want to give $5 a month, you can actually get a lot more interaction with me, including some, public webcasts where I'll interact with you directly. I mean, that's the cost of a Starbucks coffee a month. A single one. Not even more than one. If you want to just engage me in just general debate, come on over to Minds. I do respond to everyone who queries me. I want to thank you all again and hope you have a great day.